how's everybody been? I hope you're all enjoying your summer. Let me start off by thanking all of you for posting your questions, which made this video possible. Let's get started. I continually hear the term powerful captain. What would make one captain more powerful than another? If I had to say, I would put reputation first, as well as years of experience. Naturally, wealth and the size of a crew would matter. For example, a guy like Big John, my former captain, he was by no means on someone like Dom Trissello's level, nor was he considered a powerful captain, yet Dom was. In the recent New Jersey gambling case, do you think it will put those fellas away for a long time? And do you think Georgie Neck will come home to the top spot? Also, do you think there are more arrests coming, in your opinion? Typically, gambling cases don't carry lengthy sentences. As far as Georgie Neck getting a boss position, that would depend on a lot of factors, and the probability of future Lucchese indictments are highly likely. Joe Pistone recently spoke about infiltrating the Bonanno family and that he almost became a made man. With murder now being almost non-existent today, does it make sense to live under an assumed name? I'll say this. If you took Joe Pistone and all the guys who claim to almost have been straightened out, you could fill a small village. So I think that explains that. I have no idea what security measures Pistone is taking, and I highly doubt anyone would attempt to do anything to him. So he should ditch the sunglasses, as it's been over 30 years. Do made guys take being the godfather to a kid seriously? And if the kid's father was killed, do you know or have you heard of a person taking the kid or the kids in to raise? I think any person who's picked to be a godfather to a child should take it seriously. Besides it being an honor, it's also a responsibility. I've never personally heard of the last part of that question taking place. In a previous video, you mentioned a time where you were involved in some incidents in Long Island, and Mikey DeSantis told you to let the associates handle those things since you had nothing to prove. Care to elaborate on those incidents? At the time, it was Mikey's opinion that the associates were the ones who needed to prove themselves, which he was right. I was already a friend, an inducted member, and basically handling situations on my own. Those incidents were nothing serious in nature. A few meaningless fights, if you can call them that. Can you tell us how you met Big Joe Costa and any stories of him besides the one when you called him to do an introduction? I first met Joe and his captain at the cigar lounge over an incident. What it involved really doesn't matter. But after that day, my captain, Big John, told me to bust Joe's balls. And I honestly didn't because Joe was such a nice guy. What's your opinion of Joe Tortorella? Joe Torty is the furthest thing from a tough guy. And if not for his father, I don't believe he'd ever be part of the mob. Do you think the days of long prison sentences for members are over, seeing as there are barely any murders or violent crimes these days? Well, to start with, using the word barely in reference to murders means there are some, and that's incorrect. There hasn't been a mob murder since 2013. And as far as sentences go, it all depends on what a guy's charged with. What crew is Big John in now? I don't know, and I really couldn't care. If I had to guess, he's most likely in the Brooklyn crew, but only as a member. Let me quickly add, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Please don't ask me about how many crews a family had or how many members and associates a crew had. I didn't go around counting people in the street. Did you personally know anybody who's been portrayed in a movie? Was it weird to see them in the film? And was the portrayal accurate? I don't believe I personally knew anyone portrayed in a movie, and the majority of the movies never depict the person accurately. Was it ever a common tactic for the feds to go easy on a connected defendant to potentially stir up a paranoia and dissension within a larger crime organization's ranks? The government, particularly the FBI, are extremely dirty players. I'm not sure about going easy on a defendant, but I wouldn't put anything past them. What was the most amount you had to kick up to your captain at any one time? Big John wanted $6,000 per guy at Christmas time, and I never handed him that figure, and a lot of guys didn't either. Were you ever asked to do something you knew was a bad move, but did it anyway, or could you use finesse to convince your captain to see things your way? Sort of. I knew assaulting, who I later found out was Stevie Korea's ex-son-in-law, was a bad move. I ultimately got out of doing it. As soon as I was handed a picture of the guy, I knew what they were asking was uncalled for. The problem for me was Big John was our captain, and you had to question anything he asked of you, which made life in Lucchese family difficult to navigate. What was your favorite Chinese restaurant in New York? I would have to say, hands down, Wo Hop in Chinatown. I've been to a few good ones, but Wo Hop was the best. If a guy's name is passed around for induction and he gets knocked down by someone, will he always get knocked down as long as the guy who put in a beef is alive and active? If the beef is unfounded, will he get straightened out with no worry of the guy again? Good question. Many guys have been knocked down for one reason or another. And it really depends on what the issue is. I know of guys who were knocked down and then put back up and eventually inducted. Have you seen any incidents where a particular made guy mistreated an associate for whatever unjustified reason, but years later, that associate became his captain or his boss? Personally, no. I don't know of any incidents where that took place. However, I'm sure there were numerous people who were abused as associates and later became inducted and moved on to become captains or bosses. If you haven't liked this video yet, please take the time now and give it a like, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. Also, for anyone who'd like to show appreciation for videos like this, or to help me continue making them, you can donate with the Super Thanks icon down below, or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Let me remind everyone of my blog, also called Sit Down News, especially for those of you who still enjoy reading. It can be found at sitdownnews.com and is a paid subscription. Why do you think Johnny Santore came back to the life after he was chased by Ciro Perrone? This incident you're referring to is when John was mistakenly blamed by Ciro for pocketing loan shark money. And he wasn't necessarily chased, but stayed away for like 20 years. And it was actually Ciro, after finding out John was innocent, that wanted to see him. Why did John choose to go? He could have just stayed away, but didn't because he was a gangster in limbo and went to meet Ciro so he could go back to the life that he knew best. The DOJ press release of the Anthony Villani sentencing, they listed him as a Lucchese captain. Is this true, or is the DOJ exaggerating his rank? Villani, a Lucchese captain, was just sentenced to 21 months for racketeering involving an illegal gambling ring and money laundering. And for the final question, did you know a Robert Scapacci? He's suspected of being a Gambino member. The only Scapacci that I know of is the funeral parlor in Brooklyn. Maybe he's related. And I believe there's another Scapacci involved with the Gambinos as well. So there could be some truth to it. But then again, you know how rumors go. They're either true or plain old bullshit.